Good evening, everyone. The January 9, 2024 work session of the Montgomery County Board of Education will come to order. Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Please remember to mute all electronic devices. Before we get into the business of the board, we'd like to welcome Pastor Jim Ingram, Senior Pastor, Trinity Assembly of God, here in Montgomery, Alabama, to bring our invocation. Welcome, Pastor Ingram. Thank you so, so very much. At this time, if you will join me, we will stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a majority, obviously, all seven members of our board are present. I declare that we do have a quorum. Our agenda has been posted for our review. The question before us this evening, colleagues, do you approve the agenda by unanimous consent, that is without a voice vote or a hand raised vote? Is there objection to approving the agenda by unanimous consent? Is there objection? Hearing none, our agenda has been approved. There are several reports to be received as updates this afternoon. They will be presented for information only. We will take them in the order that they are printed on our printed agenda. The first item on tonight's agenda is from Volkert. We'll get a Volkert update, and we are being presented this information by Mr. Glenn Slater. Yes, thank you. Welcome, Mr. Slater.
There. Okay. Okay. Going into the new year, we have several projects that are nearing design completion, and we'll be bidding. We'll be working with Mr. Watts and Mr. Anderson to get the bid schedule out to where they will work well with them. But the New Flowers Elementary School is almost in the final review phases, as well as the JAG Field House and field improvements. The Floyd Middle School should be ready to bid by March. Capitol Heights Middle School is going into the final design phases. The Percy Julian High School, the first thing we need to bid on it is there's a road that we're going to have to redo and run parallel and tie back into the boulevard there, and that'll be, hopefully we can get that ready to go in March, where we can it'll let the final designs go through from there. This is our minority participation. There's very little change for the month of December. We've got 21,800,000 in professional services. Of that, 51% is minority participation. On construction contracts, there's 42.6 million under contract right now, and 1.5 of that is going for minority participation or minority contractors, which is 4%. That concludes our update for this month, unless we have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Slater. Are there questions regarding the Volkert update? Dr. Keith?
That frontage road that what I'm asking is that road that you're saying that's going to run parallel to the bypass, is that like a little frontage road?
Well, it's actually going to run perpendicular to the bypass and tie back into the bypass there. There will be another drive entry coming off of the boulevard onto the property there. It'll be close to about halfway between the edge of the property and the current cut through for the drive. It's a private drive right now, but it's been used as a public drive.
Are there other questions? Hearing none, again, sir, we thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is an overview of the Freedom Preparatory Academy Charter that is going to be presented by Dr. Vernette Nettles. Dr. Nettles.
Yes, he was. It tested me already. Good afternoon to the board members and Dr. Brown. Good afternoon and Happy New Year. And as you know, Montgomery County is the board is a charter school authorizer. And it's our responsibility to annually, what am I doing now? Okay. It was green. Okay. We good? You can or cannot hear me.
We need the volume in the back. No, I apologize. They are asking me to make certain that the speakers speak directly into the microphone.
Okay. Try again? All right. It is our responsibility as a board, well, your responsibility as a board, to annually present, to annually receive a public charter school application. This year we have one applicant, Freedom Preparatory Academy, and we have with us the CEO and founder, Ms. Roblin Webb. She's going to provide an overview of the application and the initiative, and she will introduce to you anyone from her team that she has brought with her.
Thank you, Dr. Nettles. Thank you, board members. Thank you, Dr. Brown, for having us here this evening. Again, my name is Roblin Webb, and I'm the founder and CEO. Can you all hear me? Am I speaking into the mic? Okay, and I'm the founder and CEO of Freedom Prep Charter Schools in Memphis, Tennessee. I also have here my colleague, Crystal Nasir, who is our brand new executive director for Alabama. I appreciate you all's time tonight, and I'm just going to go through a brief PowerPoint. Happy and open to answer any questions you all may have when I wrap up. I'm pushing the right buttons. No. Let's press the arrow. Oh, perfect. Okay, great. So I want to give you a little background on myself and why I'm here. You're probably asking the question, why is a charter school from Memphis here? So this work I've been doing this work for 15 years. I know you look at me, you say, what, you started when you were 15? I know. But no, I've been doing this work. I founded Freedom Prep 15 years ago, and the work is personal for me. I'm a native of Camden, Arkansas. I don't know if either of you have heard of, but a real small town in southern Arkansas. And the reason I got into the work of charter schools, because actually my former career was an attorney, but the reason that I got into the work of charter schools was because of civil rights. As a young child, and I'll tell a brief little story, on the playground in Arkansas, my best friend was named Kitten. Kitten was a little white girl. We were best friends until one day Kitten came to me and said, and this was in the first grade, I may have been 6 years old. Kitten came to me and said, I can't play with you anymore because I don't like black people anymore. She said, just like some people don't like green beans, I don't like black people. Of course, at 6 years old, I don't understand what that means. I didn't even know I was black, right? People tell you, you find that out at 6 years old. But it opened up my appetite to learn more about what was going on with people of color in this country. I was a voracious reader, so I would pick up books around the house. My dad had the autobiography of Malcolm X and the story of Nat Turner. I started reading those books, and my life's passion became about civil rights. When I went to college, I went to Rhodes College in Memphis, Tennessee. So I left small town Arkansas and went to Rhodes College. I actually said I majored in biology at first because I wanted to be a pediatrician. I figured if I made enough money, I could just contribute to black causes, right? Now. So then I took chemistry, and that took me into a whole nother industry. I changed my major to urban studies, and I went to law school. Went to law school in New Jersey because I wanted to be a civil rights attorney. This is what I wanted to do. I wanted to fight for my people. When I graduated from law school, came back to Memphis, realized that it wasn't fully a practice at the time, I actually did education law for the city school district. And I felt like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I'm supposed to be working for. I'm working for my people. What I found, though, that I was actually on the opposite side. I was actually going against the very people I wanted to serve. At that time, after I left practicing, so I only practiced law for about a couple of years, but I left and went to work for an education nonprofit called New Leaders for New Schools. Some of you may have heard of that organization. It's a national organization that trains school leaders across the country to turn around low-performing schools in urban areas. Felt like I was really doing the work then. I started to realize and see how education is our modern civil rights movement. I felt like I was doing what I needed to do, but then, of course, as fate would have it, and God will call you to what you need to do, I was called to volunteer and coach a mock trial team at a local high school in Memphis. Coached the mock trial team. The kids fell in love with me. It's the first time they had seen someone that looked like them, spoke like them, and was an attorney. But what was so disheartening for me at the time was that although those kids were passing the state assessment with flying colors, because at the time, the TCAP in Tennessee was a joke, their ACT scores were too low to get them in the four-year colleges. And then they definitely wouldn't have been able to be attorneys. It was at that point why I said, I've got to do more. In the city of Memphis, where only 20% of the population has a four-year college degree, 65% of the population is African American, more needed to be done to really prepare kids that look like me that have the same opportunities in life that I did. And so I did a program of fellowship. As much as I said no, I didn't want to run a school. I didn't want to be a school leader. I see what school leaders go through. I did a fellowship that trained me to open Freedom Prep, and I opened the first Freedom Prep school in the fall of 2009. And I'm kind of gonna go through the history of Freedom Prep and then why I'm here today, actually in Alabama. A lot of parallels. Again, when I drive around Montgomery, when I went to visit some of the schools, it reminded me of being in Arkansas and in elementary school in the 80s in Arkansas. But I'll share a little bit about our history and our mission, and I'm going to keep clicking. Do I need to do anything different other than click? Okay. So I'll start out with our mission, and that's behind, but I'll talk about the mission. The mission is on the first slide. Our mission is to prepare all students in grades pre-K through 12 to excel in college and in life. That is our mission. Our vision is to transform, our new vision is to transform education across the South for children of color. There we go. All right, I'm gonna go to the next slide with the history of Freedom Prep. So started the first school in the fall of 2009 with about 100 sixth graders. Started with about 100 sixth graders and maybe 10 staff members. 2013, we opened our high school, so we were approved for a 6 through 12. Started in middle school because at the time that was the greatest need. And what we were finding is that our kids were coming in 2 and 3 grade levels behind, not to the fault of the hardworking educators in Memphis, to the fault of kind of where our kids were and what people were exposed to. The benefit I had of being a part of a national program, what I didn't talk about, the national program that I did had me visit schools all over the country. And what was so eye-opening about these schools, visited schools mainly in the Northeast, was that the demographic population was the same as it was in Memphis. It was 100% children of color, yet 100% of their kids were going to four-year colleges and universities. I knew from visiting those schools that we could bring those practices down to Memphis and hopefully down to Alabama to transform schools as well there. We started our first elementary school in 2014, and that school was actually a turnaround school in the Memphis City School District. 2016, our second elementary school was founded, and then in 2018, our second middle school is founded. And we are so excited to open our first school in Birmingham this coming August in the Titusville neighborhood of Birmingham. Okay, just want to talk about this. So the living impact of Freedom Prep. So like I said, I've been doing this for 15 years. I call this slide little brother to Mr. Tyler. Little brother, Elijah Tyler was one of our second group of kids that came to Freedom Prep in the 6th grade. You'll see him in his shirt and tie and cardigan in the first slide in the corner, and in his college t-shirt, because all of our kids wear college t-shirts every Friday. You will also see down at the bottom, Mr. Tyler, who is a teacher that came back to Freedom Prep. So like I said, this work is personal. Little brother, we call him little brother because little brother used to ride on his bike in the neighborhood. And this is in Westwood in Memphis, Tennessee. We chased him down and said, do you want to come to Freedom Prep? Go talk to your grandmother, come to Freedom Prep. Elijah took care of his sick mother, was raised by his grandmother, graduated from Freedom Prep in our first graduating class, went to Rhodes College, my alma mater, graduated from Rhodes, and then came back to teach at Freedom Prep. And so again, the work continues to be personal, and we see the living impact of our work, the work that we've done. We've graduated 6 classes, 100% accepted to four-year colleges and universities. We have kids on Wall Street. We have kids playing rugby at Dartmouth now. I just spoke at one of my founding kids' graduation from Vanderbilt Law School. So to see that happen just is, it's the biggest benefit to me to see this work come to true fruition. I'm sorry, I paused. Okay, so our approach, give you a little bit of background on the approach to Freedom Prep. So our approach is, all right, so number one, I said our mission is college prep. We hold a firm college readiness bar to prepare our kids to excel in college and in life. Unapologetically college prep. Do our kids have to go to college? No. Do we encourage them to go to college from day one? Absolutely. But we make sure that they have the education to have the choice. Those kids that I coached at that mock trial team didn't have the choice to go to college. We want to make sure that our kids are prepared to make that choice to go to college. In addition to that, we focus on character. Character development is also one of our pillars. We focus on character because it doesn't matter if you have really strong grades. The PowerPoint is doing what it wants to do. So I'm just going to talk through. We focus on character because you can have strong grades, but if you don't have great character, you don't go that far in life. We also focus on social emotional learning, and we have social workers on every campus. And then the last thing that we focus on is there's a lot happening. The last thing that we focus on is exposure. So it's also important that our kids are competitive when they go to college. So we do field lessons every month, and at the end of the year, we do a field lesson out of the city so that our kids are exposed to things and so they understand what the real world is like, and so they can also compete with children that often have more than them. They can have the same conversations and experiences. So we call them, instead of field trips, field lessons, and we make sure that we include college visits. Even at early on in elementary schools, they're doing college visits. Okay, I'm gonna see what's gonna happen next with the slide. All right, so just talking about a little bit about our history. Student growth. We've had really strong student growth since the fall of 2009. 4 out of our 5 schools this last year earned a level 5 designation on the TVOS in Memphis. And in Tennessee, that's academic growth. And so they were number 5. 4 out of the 5 schools were number 5, the highest growth in the state. For the past few years, prior to the pandemic, we consistently performed in the top 10% of the state of Tennessee in academic growth. And at one point, we were in the top percent. We had the highest academic growth in math amongst middle schools, all middle schools, not just charter schools in the state of Tennessee. And then what I talked about before, that we had 100% of our classes that have all graduated and been accepted to 4-year colleges and universities. We'll see what's next. Well, I talked about civil rights at the beginning and carrying the torch of the civil rights movement. I want to see if it's going to give me a slide. There we go. All right. When we think about Alabama, Alabama is in a similar situation. There are a lot of hardworking people, and I know that you all have done significant work, but everyone needs a community. It's a village. In Alabama, there's still a need for additional options and educational options for children in the entire state. 91% of the kids that are attending priority schools in Alabama are Black or Latinx, and 86 of the 206 priority schools in the state are elementary schools. So again, hardworking folks, and there continues to be a need for a village. If the impact for our kids and our kids of color is what this is looking like, then there definitely need to be more partners in this village. Alabama. I talked about Alabama, of course, because of the civil rights movement and just the deep calling to come here because of the civil rights movement. People often talk about charters. I know that you all have not had great experience with charter schools, and it surprises a lot of folks. I'm not a charter school advocate. I am a good school advocate. I am a school choice and a choice for parents advocate. Does not matter. I am totally agnostic when it comes to the type of school, as long as families have the option and families have choices for their children. Not every school is right for every child. And I know personally how hard this work is and how ridiculously hard it is post-pandemic. And I know that we have an obligation to serve families and serve children. And I've often had to bring in partners as well because I could not fully do it myself. And we would want to be a partner as well in Montgomery Public Schools to do this work. Family and community engagement. Just have a couple more. I know I have 10 minutes. So we would love, like I said, to partner with Montgomery Public Schools. This is not Freedom Prep trying to come in from Memphis. This is about partnering with the community to educate children and to provide families multiple options for their kids in this community. These are the different activities that we've done, but we're committed to sharing and partnering with Montgomery Public Schools on those priorities of college and career ready upon graduation. The priorities of having resources, support, and training. We know already it's not enough money in Alabama. It's not enough money in Tennessee. Part of the reason for us to even think about transforming education across the South is I saw all these schools in the Northeast flush with resources and money. All of the impact and focus and all of the funders and additional philanthropy are going to schools and education reform in the Northeast and none in the South. And the majority of children of color are still in the South. The majority of failing schools across the country are all in the South: Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi. And so there need to be more partners and community focus on transforming education across the South. And finally, we are committed to, again, every family being engaged in support of student success. These are also some of the efforts. I've introduced our executive director in Alabama. We will replicate kind of the student and family engagement model that we have in Tennessee to continue to reach out and support and touch the community. Last, I want to talk about our organization and kind of what our organization looks like. So we serve about 2,000 kids in Memphis right now with 5 schools. As you see, the CEO, we have our executive director in Alabama, we have a chief academic officer, chief operations, chief financial officer, chief people officer that's managing talent, and then chief of external affairs who is leading community engagement, fundraising, and marketing. So we have a robust network team that sits in Memphis, and then we're building out a regional team starting with our executive director of Alabama here. And talking about our sustainability and stability, so we're stable financially now. Our last audit had 0 financial deficiencies in fiscal year 23. We have a strong and robust operations department, and we have a really strong talent team that is working really hard to recruit the proper talent. Number one for me is that they're mission aligned and they believe in every child and their ability to succeed and excel and go to college. And that is my last slide. We thank you again. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us. Thank you for welcoming me into your home. I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Webb. Are there questions? Yes, Dr. Keith.
First, I want to make a comment.
Yes, please.
You know, when you got up there at first, I was like,
Who is she? Okay.
But I will tell you, I feel like you've done your homework. I really do. I'm impressed with what you're doing, and I found myself asking, well, where's the data? But your stories indicating the success rates that you have of your students, the fact that you've moved to Birmingham, I'm just I'm elated. I am for school choice. I always have been, and I've pushed ever since I've been on the board. So I'm impressed with what you said. It's just a minor question.
Thank you.
You mentioned the turnaround school.
Yep.
Turnaround school, is that the same as conversion, or
So we did one.
Okay, I
we
just wanted
did-
to make sure. 'Cause
Correct.
Here we're, the conversion or the new one, the startup. I just wanted to make sure we were on the same page.
The exact same. We did one. So our first elementary was a conversion school. It's a traditional charter now, but it was a conversion when we took it over.
And the fact that you go out in the field and make them actually go out of state,
Yes.
the competition factor, I'm impressed. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Additional questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi,
Hi.
what curriculum do you use? What curriculum do you use?
So it depends on what grade. So in elementary school, it depends on, so let me think. I knew you would ask this question. In math, we kind of create our own curriculum from the Achievement First Network in New York in math. We are using Wilson Reading for remedial, like literacy for middle school. So we use Wilson for remedial literacy in middle school. And I'm trying to think of what we use in elementary school. Can I follow up with you? Because I want to look, because I cannot remember exactly what we are using for elementary school. In middle school, we write our own curriculum. So we have an external provider that writes our own curriculum and writes the assessments for us, like our interim assessments in middle school. But I'll make sure I send you an email, a note now. I'll send a note because I just cannot remember off the top of my head the ELA curriculum that we use for elementary school. But our elementary, like the K-1 classrooms, right now the K-1 classrooms have a teacher and a teacher aide, and the kids are broken up into 3 groups. And so they're broken up by abilities to ensure that they are able to read. But I'll follow up with you. I apologize.
Just the materials that
Yeah,
you
for
use.
sure.
And how are you testing for progress?
Yeah. So in addition to our internally written interim assessments, we use iReady as well too. We used NWEA MAP at one point, and we're using NWEA MAP for high school, but for K through 8, we're using iReady for progress. That's, the nationally normed, and then we have interim assessments along the way that are internally written.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you. Ms. Portis?
May I offer a point of clarification just before Ms. Portis asks her question? Dr. Keith, you asked about the school traditional, the turnaround school.
Turnaround conversion,
Right.
were they the
I
same?
just want to be clear that this application is a startup school application.
Right, I just, but
Okay.
when she said turnaround, I wanted to make sure I
It's the
had
same thing.
conversion. I was just looking at the definitions. Are we talking about the same thing?
Right.
Mhm.
I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that this is, we are not doing another conversion.
Reading mastery. I knew it would come to me. Reading mastery. I apologize, but I'll follow with the additional details. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Portis?
Will we receive your, I am talking loud, and I normally do. So this is broken. We need a new one. Will we receive your packet that you have?
Yes.
We will receive.
Absolutely.
I have
Mhm.
another question for you. You talk a lot about college, but you say that there is a choice.
Correct.
What is your plan when you determine a child does not want to go to college?
I mean, we figure out different. We have college counselors where they talk with the family and determine different options for the child. Like we encourage them to go to college, of course, but there are plenty of options out there. And what we do in Memphis, because we don't have, if you're talking about career and technical, we don't have a career and technical program in Memphis at our high school, but we partner with other local high schools for those kids to attend classes there if they decide they don't want to go to college.
Ms. Smith?
You talked about SEL, but I didn't hear you talk about special education,
Hmm.
the percentage of students that you accept into the program, how many you retain. You mentioned you were coming to Birmingham. Well, I'm going to ask one at a time
Please.
because I have quite a few. But-
Okay, so the first one is about special ed and the percentage of special ed. So we are a public charter school. So we accept every child that applies to us. And our percent actually, it tends to be either around the same percentage of the district, so about 12%, or sometimes higher. A lot of times parents, the district, oddly enough in Memphis, will tell parents to send their child to Freedom Prep because we have a structured discipline program so that children that are oftentimes might suffer from disabilities or it may even be a mild disability, they tend to thrive in our environment. So it's about like 12 to 14% of children with disabilities. And I don't remember the exact, because the number of ESL kids, I don't know if y'all call it ESL here or ELL
Yeah,
kids,
yes, but I know what
that's
you mean.
growing in our city as well too, and it's growing at Freedom Prep. But I can definitely follow up with the exact percentages.
And what's the retention rate of those students?
That's a funny you asked that question. So I'll get you that data. But Tennessee has I don't know if you heard about the third grade retention law in Tennessee. And so that's changed because the state of Tennessee requires us to retain kids that don't pass the state assessment in literacy the first time or if they have tutoring. But I can follow up because I'm not certain the number of the retention, but I'll follow. Are you writing these down, Crystal? Okay, I'll make sure I'll follow up with that number. It's probably a little bit higher after this past year because of that third grade retention law. We did do summer school and we did provide kids extra tutoring, but if they couldn't pass, I think they had maybe 3 times to take that state assessment, then we had to retain them in third grade. So it's gonna be higher there than anywhere else, but I'll make sure you get it in the K through 12 spectrum.
Okay.
And you wanna know the SPED kids that are retained or just in general?
ESL or ELL,
Yeah.
however you identify them, and the SPED population.
Okay.
My other question was about your SEL, social emotional learning. I do know that, well, just in studying and doing research, that sometimes you can get children where maybe those services may not be as impactful in your setting, probably not even in our setting. But what are your plans? Because Prison Pipeline, you said you did civil rights, so I know that that's probably one of the things that pretty much pushed you in that area.
Yes, ma'am.
But what does your organization or your school uses to address or deal with students with those severe behavior problems that need that
Yeah.
additional support? And you mentioned family engagement. What does that
Yes.
look like?
What does that look like? Yep. So we start prior, so once parents apply for Freedom Prep, again, you apply and you get in. But part of that process is having a meeting with school leadership and social workers prior to them coming into Freedom Prep. And really that meeting is one to just say, okay, we're about to be a family. We're at the hip. What do you want for your child? What are your dreams and your wishes for your child? What are you bringing to the school? And this is what we will provide for you as a family. So what are your expectations? So part of that is starting with the dean of students, the school leader, and the social workers are meeting with the families prior to kids even coming to the school. So brand new kids into the school. In addition to that, social work, I think our head of social work department is brilliant. She does a social work fair at the beginning of the year. So that parents and families' first touch point with social work is a positive thing. It's not a call about something negative happening. So they can start to build relationships with those families. Those kids, just like any other kids, so we of course, put them into the traditional classroom. There is more structure, there's a discipline, there's a rhythm to the classroom, but then they have behavior plans, like any child that otherwise. They may have behavior plans. We may adjust their day based on what they need. So we would develop like individual behavior plans depending on what the severity of the kids are, and we may even bring in an outsourced organization. So we partner, what our social work department does and our community engagement team is also partner with external providers, which we would love to do here as well. We actually met with Pastor Williams, and we heard about a lot of the mental health services that his organization provides. We would partner with additional external partners, things that we couldn't provide ourselves, to ensure that that family, because it's a holistic, it's not just the kid, it's the kid and the family. The family get the services that they need to work with them on their behaviors.
And my other question, I do know that there have been several locations of your school. You mentioned Tennessee, you're new to the Birmingham area, so you will start in 2024,
And this August.
this August
This
in
August.
Birmingham.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you also in New Jersey as well? Was that
No, I just went to law school in New Jersey.
okay? But I know that there was a Freedom Prep.
Oh,
in
no,
New
no, no.
Jersey.
That is a totally, I don't know how they were able to get the name because we should have trademarked it, but that's a totally different organization. Has nothing to do with us.
Okay,
Because there's also a Freedom Prep, I think, in Ohio, but I think it's a private school or something.
okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, correct, Dr. Key.
I promise this is short, and it's
Oh,
just
yes,
personal
yes.
curiosity
Yes.
based on her question.
Okay.
You said something about y'all's third grade retrenching law,
Yeah.
literacy. We have that too, but I just would like to know, did Tennessee move forward with it even though COVID, because our governor didn't? And I want to know, did Tennessee
They
keep on?
did. They delayed it a year, but then they moved forward with this past year. So this past summer was rough for all of us. Like it was a lot of trying to figure out because I mean the majority of our kids, because of COVID, because these third graders were like in kindergarten when COVID was happening. So they didn't, they were learning virtually. So it hit the Shelby County schools, Memphis City schools hard. So they moved forward this year. They did provide a lot of outs, right? A lot of exit ramps, but they still moved
But
forward with it.
did they ever put a hold? Did they ever, because of COVID?
Only for a year, like
Okay,
last
okay,
year, not
okay.
not this
That's what-
not this
that's what I
past,
was
but only for
asking.
like a
Okay.
year. Yes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Thank
We
you all.
appreciate
Thank you for your time.
The next item on the agenda, facilities update with Mr. Anderson.
Good evening, Dr. Brown, members of the board. If you'll open your spreadsheet with me and take a look at that. We've already received the Volkert capital plan, going through a few of those projects. You can see the Blunt Car Drive. The site work is underway. They've done some of the excavation, and we'll be starting to work on the curbing of that. We'll have to wait till it warms up for the asphalt. Asphalt is not really conducive to be poured at a time like this with the weather we have. They usually like to get it where it's going to be a 50 degrees constant, so that it'll come up. So that'll be later in the spring. Should not take us very long to finish that piece of that project. And what that's going to enable us to do is totally separate the traffics, the Blunt car traffics from each other, so that they don't converge. And hopefully we're going to see an improvement on our traffic. We'll also have to train our personnel to utilize that drive as well effectively. The Park Crossing Field House, The drilled piers are complete. I believe there were 90+ of those piers on that project, so they're moving along with that quickly, and we'll start getting ready to pour the slab for that. The weather will affect us a little bit with the rain. It's difficult to do this kind of work in this kind of conditions, so we may have to wait until the weather dries out for us for that. The Carver High School 9th grade academy and field house, they poured the retaining walls on the field house side of things. They're finishing up some of the concrete work on the 9th grade academy. The last piece will be next week on the storm shelter. Once they finish the storm shelter, the concrete people will work over to the field house and begin that slab as well. But what you're not seeing from the front side, on the back side of it, they've already started a lot of the block and brick work, so that's going up very quickly. Your decking is pretty much complete with the exception of where the storm shelter is. Once that's in place, they'll knock it out very quickly. The roofers will begin installing the insulation and storm ice and water shield on that next week, and it should fall into place with the storm shelter being complete and the other trusses being added and decking added to that. So it is moving along very well on those, and we're working on the FF&E, the furniture for this area as we speak, and we'll look to order some of that towards the end of this month. The South Lawn Middle Gymnasium is moving along well. We did run into a snag with one of the water lines there that we're going to have to relocate. The architects are working on that to draw that plan to relocate that, and we'll have that moving along quickly as well. Sorry, my slide went a little off. The Children's Center, they finished the walkthrough of that today, and we're wrapping those pieces up. We were just waiting on the awning and the laundry equipment to be delivered. All that was installed and set, so we have substantial completion on that piece. It looks very nice, a needed addition for that location, and the people that are be utilizing that and the wheelchairs for the buses is something that's greatly needed. The central office consolidation, we're moving the last pieces this week and next week with Fuse and Decatur Street coming over, and we'll be looking to shut down those two locations completely and being here. And our door access, card access people are working on the other side of Union Street here as we speak, and will be here through the evening and get that wrapped up this week as well. The BTW construction, we've wrapped that up totally, so substantial completion is there. It will be removed from your list, and they're finishing up punch items. We're actually doing the final check on the punch list coming up next week. That's scheduled. The Vaughn Road re-roof, they're finishing up the metal work. They have a little bit on the back side of the school there, and they'll be wrapped up with that, and we'll be looking for substantial completion with it. Wares Ferry will start close after that. We had to work out some things because some of the materials changed as we saw some of the issues that we had at Vaughn Road. We wanted to make those changes on materials as far as like not using the pitch that was used initially. We're not going to do that. We're going to go to the other piece. So we had to make some corrections and changes on that before we go to the other side, and that will start here shortly. Brubaker Intermediate renovation, we're at about 50% completion over there. It is moving along well. They worked over the holiday break on the cafeterias for both locations to try to get those wrapped up. And Brubaker Primary, they're in wrapping up phase 1. Should be any time now within the next week or so. We'll be getting ready to start phase 2 for that. Again, we'll be doing the drop ceiling and lightings through the summer. The Carver High School roof repair, we have a meeting next week, pre-construction meeting for that to address some of the leak issues in the existing building and get that wrapped up. That should not take very long for us to be able to do that. It's not a total re-roof. It's just some corrections that we need to make in some of the areas where like the parapet walls are. The Brubaker Primary Intermediate roof replacement contracts are working on being put in place, and we'll start that job here shortly. And then the Morning View and Davis Elementary HVAC window replacement. I actually met with our professional services people today, Mr. Watts, Ms. Watkins, and myself, working on timelines for that, and we hope to have that kind of going under OA agreement, owner-architect agreement here within the next month and start working on design and getting that in place, because we do have a crunch timeline with some of the funding sources that we have. So we're going to try to expedite that as quickly as we can and get those in place to get as much done without it impacting the general fund.
Thank you very much. Are there questions of Mr. Anderson? Ms. Smith?
The water line you mentioned at South Lund Middle.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the additional cost that's going to bring to that project?
I've spoken to our project managers on that, and it should not be anything on us and that, because that was a civil engineering mistake and mishap that they omitted. So that's going to be something that they're going to have to contend with.
Other questions? Mr. Anderson, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
The next item on our agenda is our 24-25 proposed school calendar. Mrs. Jones?
Good evening, Madam President, Dr. Brown, and board members. Happy New Year to all of you. Before you, you should have a draft of our 24-25 academic calendar. You should have option A and option B. For option A, well, let me back up. Just as a reminder, students are scheduled for 180 days, and then teachers are 187 days, 7 of those days being professional development. Okay? So for option A, we have our teachers returning for PD through August 1st through the 7th. That's on your option A calendar. And then option B, we have, as you can see, July 31st through August 6th. Okay? For students, for option A, that should be August 7th. You all following me there on that one? Probably straightforward, huh? And then, or excuse me, option A, students start on August 7th. Option B, the first day for students would be August 7th. So August 7th for option A, and then option B is the 8th. Backwards, sorry. 7th for students is August 8th. Option, yeah. And then the second option is the 7th. So really you have the 7th and the 8th for start days. Got it? Sure. No, go back. So option A, we're gonna go with A. We'll start there. That might be easier just to go through the A calendar. So professional development for teachers would be the 1st through the 7th. It should be the 8th. Uh-huh. That was my mistake, trying to go through both. Arthur Watts asked that I not stay up here long, so I was rushing. And then Ms. Cloud, the 31st through the 6th would be PD. And then, yeah. Okay. And then in September, as you see, we only have that one day, that's Labor Day. Now, October, if you can turn your attention there, the 14th, we would observe that as a day off for teachers and students, okay? And then the only additional day would be the 15th, and that will be our virtual learning day. And that's only for option B. I'm gonna move over to November, the 11th, you know, we have to observe Veterans Day. And then the 25th through the 29th for both calendars, that full week would be the Thanksgiving break for students and teachers. Okay? We're gonna drop down to winter break. If you'll follow me for the 23rd, December 23rd to January 3rd, that's option A, that's your winter break. And the only difference for option B is that on that 19th, see that Friday? Students would get out that day, and then the 20th, teachers would use that as a PD day. So that would be the 6th PD day that we would use for teachers. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a PD day for teachers. So no students on that day. That's a Friday. That's correct. Mm-hmm. All righty. We're all gonna go over to January. Then the 6th is a PD day. So we know we start the school year back. The teachers come in and the students don't. See that there? And then the students return on the 7th. And then we know the 20th is an MLK Day. That's a federal holiday, or a national holiday. I should say federal too. Okay. And then for both calendars, we would observe President's Day for everyone. Spring break, that's the one that everyone's probably tuning in right now, and they probably want me to speak into the microphone. That is March 17th through the 21st for both calendars. Okay. And then traditionally, as we always done, we get out before Memorial Day. As you all know, the 22nd, that'll be the last day for our scholars. And then the 23rd for teachers, where they do their inventory and all of that. All right. Now, what happens next? This will sit out in the community for 30 days. Dr. Brown has given us strict instruction to receive feedback from our teachers, our parents, the business community. We will work with the Chamber of Commerce to make sure that they have a copy of this draft calendar, both options, and then all questions and feedback will go to a survey link, and I'll make sure, board members, that you all have it just in case someone asks you for it. And then we'll close that a week or two before. Ms. Watkins, you could probably help me, a week or two before the next board meeting. And then you all will get those results like you have in the past, and then we'll bring it back to the board. Okay?
Sounds good.
You said my name first.
Yeah, usually, yeah, sit with us on this one.
But I did want to ask, I know in the past we've had a committee that we have that.
Right, that's what we're going to form now. So we'll have that steering committee. So we flipped it this year.
Okay.
Right, so we go over it with you all, and then we'll flip it, yeah. And then we'll look at that feedback together. Yep.
Thank you. Are there additional questions for Ms. Jones? Thank you, Ms. Jones. The next item on our agenda, item E, the November 2023 financial statement. Mr. Arthur Watts.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Dr. Brown, you should have before you the financial statement for the month of November of 2023. Contained in the financial statement should be a report that speaks to the explanation of financial data, which is basically the CSFO's discussion of the district's financial standing. Number two, a snapshot analysis, which is a brief synopsis of the district's financial position as of November 2023, a general fund balance recap, which is basically a breakdown of our general fund, and I'll speak about that in just a second. Monthly budget percentages. As I stated, November is the second month of fiscal year 2024, which represents about 16.67% of the fiscal year, almost 17% of the fiscal year. A monthly and annual comparative statement of revenues and expenditures, which is a comparative statement of revenues and expenditures currently. And of course, we compare that to the prior year's statement of revenues and expenditures. A statement of cash flow, which is basically a statement that speaks to our cash received and cash paid as of November 30th of 2023. A pie chart, it's a display of those cash received and cash paid out, and a combined financial statements of all fund types, which is basically a combined balance sheet, which lists our assets, liabilities, and fund balance, and our combined statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, which is basically an income statement. We noticed there on the snapshot analysis, Madam President, that as of November 30th of 2023, we have a fund balance of $88.9 million compared to last fiscal year. The fund balance was, I can't hardly see it. Last year, as of this time, the fund balance was $83.1 million. So it's about a $5.8 million increase from the prior year. We also see our general fund payroll expenditures, compare that to last year as well as our taxes and so forth. There on our general fund balance recap, we see a breakdown of our total general fund. As I stated, we have a general fund of about $88.9 million. We notice our local general fund, and these are dollars that the district has discretion over. Of course, we are required to retain a 1-month fund balance, which is about $22.8 million for Montgomery. Of course, we see as of November 2023, it's at about $72.6 million. We do expect that fund balance to grow as we start receiving our district ad valorem taxes, in which we have already gotten a large share of that beginning the month of December. So you'll see that balance continue to grow. We noticed that as of September, we ended the year with a general fund balance of about $79.5 million. So we currently have about over 3 times the state required fund balance. I thought it'd probably be good if we did a fiscal year in comparison to kind of give an idea of where we came from over the last several years. Madam President, if we would note that in 2019, we had a general fund balance of about $19.7 million. And we see that in 2020, we ended the year with about $34.4 million. We also see where our local general fund was at about $15 million to about almost $30 million in 2020. Then, of course, in 2021, we had a total general fund balance of about $62.2 million. General fund went to about $55 million. In 2022, total general fund about $84.3 million. Local general fund at about $77.9 million. And of course, for 2023, we have a total general fund of $94.4 million. Local general fund at about $79.5 million. So we see that we've come a very, very long ways from fiscal year 2018, where we were in state intervention. Of course, during that time, we was looking at the possibility of going in the red at that time. And so I think the district, the superintendent, and the board has done an excellent job in continuing to manage the district's finances. So we're very, very proud of that over the years. Madam President.
Thank you very much, Mr. Watts. Are there questions of Mr. Watts? Ms. Watkins-Smith?
I just wanted to touch on some things that you gave us in, I think it was the snapshot. I did want to talk about, let me find it, Mr. Watts. I turned my page. I know it was in relation to, I wanted to know what's the traction looking like on reviewing like our bond amount versus our capital projects, and if there's like an expected timeline or date you can kind of help us to arrive to know when that conversation's going.
Yes, we intend to come to the board next month with a recommendation for what is it called? I think of the word. People, ma'am.
Oh, I said some adjustment.
No, I can't think of the name of it, but the folk that would assist us in letting the bonds. We'll have a couple of people to have the person to do a presentation to kind of give a background of their experience and so forth. And we'll probably be ready to let those bonds probably within the next 2 or 3 months. The reason we hadn't let them already, Madam President, is because since we had a nice surplus in our general fund, it was no use of us hiring someone and, of course, paying them, allowing them to let the bonds right now when we really wasn't ready to use all of those funds at the time, and we would have been paying interest on those particular funds. So since we could afford to go ahead and do that out of our general fund, knowing that when we let those bonds, then the general fund would recoup those particular dollars back. In fact, right now, when we let those bonds, our general fund is due about $19.5 million back from the letting of those particular bonds.
And then you also mentioned that it was just once the ad valorem passed, and that duration of time that we had to just sit and wait on, be allowed to collect. It also put us in it added to the interest of the bonds. If we had done it sooner, it would have been a lower interest.
That was something that I was. It brings back some bad memories, Ms. Watkins. If of course, when the tax first passed, if we would have been allowed to go ahead and start our capital program right then, we would have saved tens to hundreds of millions of dollars. But because, for whatever reason, there was some folk in the legislature that decided to delay us 3 years before we could start collecting those dollars, then that is costing us probably, I would say probably over $100 million. This is over $100 million. So these are projects that we would not be able to do because of that particular delay. Let's keep in mind that this tax was passed in 2020. We started collecting the monies in 2024. We're the only district in the state that I've ever heard of in which it was delayed this long. There was another district here in Montgomery County in which they passed the ad valorem tax within the next few months, and they started collecting the money immediately. So for whatever reason that the legislature chose to do that, or the individuals that recommended that the legislature to do that here in Montgomery, I just don't understand that. But I do know it has been very, very costly to our school district. There will be over $100 million worth of projects that we would not be able to do, and I think that truly hurts our children.
I do too. I was going to add to that things that are coming down the pipe that we're trying to implement is being thwarted a little bit as a result of this. You know, having to kind of take things off the table.
That's right.
Means we can do less. And my last thing I did want to bring up, it was brought up at our last meeting about funding for the Literacy Act. I wanted to know what that funding allocation looks like now. Has that been addressed?
As far as
putting the amount of funds that will go towards that. I know we're trying to do a community thing. Just was curious, and if you don't have a figure, that's fine.
I do know that the state has been very, very supportive of literacy and of math, and they are putting more money towards both literacy coaches and math coaches. And I think they're going to even expand on that some this year, and going to address that even more in this next legislative session.
So we won't have to worry about putting additional funds.
There may be some things that we may want to do over and beyond what the state is doing, but they are going to fund a large portion of that.
Well, when that time comes, I know you'll let us know. So
I sure will.
I'll wait for that. And I believe that may have been all my questions.
Good. If I could just make one other statement, Madam President. As we continue through this year, we know that an ad valorem tax vote is coming for a renewal, not a new tax, but a renewal of an ad valorem tax in which we currently collect about $11 million a year. I encourage everyone to vote for this tax. Let's make sure that we educate all of the public about this tax. Again, it is not a new tax. It's a renewal. It's a tax that has been in place over the last 20 years. And we want to make sure that we vote yes to renew this particular tax. Otherwise, it would cost our district and our children around $11 million a year.
And may I add to that you just said, with
Sure.
us waiting
Yes,
3
ma'am.
years has already put them behind, and not renewing this will put them
Put even further behind.
behind.
That's right.
And I think that should be the overall message.
Yes.
And we're trying to do so much, and literally with so little. You know, back in 2018 when that millage came up,
Yes.
that was a lot of homework.
Right. It
But
was a lot of hard work, and
Lot
I
of hard
certainly
work.
appreciate all the ones that went out and pushed for this particular tax. We're still not funded at the same level as other urban districts in the state of Alabama, but it was a big help. And the last thing we want to do is go back from where we came from. Madam President.
Thank you very much. I think the numbers that you have showing on the exhibits you gave us tonight shows us the difference in what we could do from 2018 to 2023. And I apologize for jumping in. We did have another question or a
Okay,
comment.
sure.
Ms.
Mr.
Clem.
Watts.
Yes,
thank you.
ma'am.
Mr. Watts, did we ever get the reason why that happened?
Why, what
Between
happened?
the two systems in Montgomery County? Did we ever find out why there was a disparity of what happened?
I don't know if I need to be one to answer. Right.
No, I just wondered if it was public knowledge.
As to
I think it is
I would
public
rather a
knowledge,
board
but
member
I
answer
also
that question,
think
so.
it is
Thank you.
incumbent
Yes, ma'am.
upon us to make certain that those in our public who might not be aware, we need to make them aware. So there hopefully will be some opportunities for us to communicate with our public very, very soon as to where we've been, how we got to where we are, and what we'd like to see done to rectify that error.
I'm just thinking goose and gander. You know, what's good for the
I probably
goose.
shouldn't do this, but I'm going to say it anyway. Some folks believe in equity and others don't. That's my rationale.
that's the perfect way to put it.
It is.
Thanks again, Mr. Watts.
Well,
The
like I
next
said,
item.
Goose and gander, same difference.
The next item on our agenda will be the Montgomery County Board of Education bylaws, proposed changes to our bylaws. Article 5 will be presented by Vice President Cassandra Brown.
Good evening, Dr. Coleman, Dr. Brown, board members. The Bylaws Committee met recently to address our bylaws, and we met with the intentions of making revisions to our current bylaws. When we got into the meeting, we felt like we had bit off more than what we were able to chew and digest at that time. So tonight, we are prepared to recommend one change to our bylaws with the understanding that we are seeking guidance on further revisions for our bylaws. And the one change that the committee, which the committee consists of myself, Mrs. Claudia Mitchell, and Mrs. Pamela Cloud. Our proposed amendment at this time would be to change the language because the current language reads that our board meets on the second and fourth Tuesday, and we know that that is not true. So it has, been brought to our attention several times, and we would at this time like to propose to the board to change this language for us to meet on the second Tuesday, as we currently do, for our board meeting. And we have the location, our new location would be included in this change as well. And one recommendation is for us to align ourselves with the same pattern as used by the State Board of Education, which would mean that we would have board meeting first, and our work session would be second. Therefore, when we walk away from the board meeting, we can reflect on whatever changes and information we've received, and we will have time to consider that information. And the next month, we will vote on the information that was received in the work session. Did I explain myself, committee members? Did I leave anything out? Yes.
Always forget that. Okay. The new address would be 632 South Union Street, Montgomery, Alabama 36104, because we have to let them in our bylaws the correct address. And then the meeting, what we said would we want to follow the state, so we have the board meeting first with everyone that that gets to be acknowledged. All of our children, they're not sitting and waiting for us to go through the work session, because a lot of children, when they come, we want to acknowledge them for whatever accolades they get. Then they can go home and do their homework. Thank you for putting it that way. And then we'd go into the work session after that. Thank you.
And this would require a vote for this to occur, and that vote would happen in the month of February. And that's all that we have at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Brown, and thank you to the team, to the committee. Are there questions?
You'll bring the changes as they occur. You'll bring the changes as they occur. This won't be the only change.
Absolutely, because we have a lot of work to do.
How would we get, if we had any input, how would we communicate that with you or with the committee?
Okay, well, the committee sent out a communication a month or so ago,
The
but we are
template.
continuously receiving information, because we want, when we walk away from these bylaws, we want them to be solid, and we want everybody to understand what we're doing, because right now, this is not reflective of what we're doing.
I think that's a very good question and good point. We don't need to wait until a formal meeting in order to send changes to these bylaws that we would like to see. Send them to the committee such that the committee can continue to do their work, and hopefully we will have our clean bylaws within a few weeks. Not, we don't want to wait another year. We want to get this done and get it done quickly. Thank you all so much.
And may I add something?
Yes.
And we're also, the articles that are in place, we're referencing the Code of Alabama with what it says, because we reference back to the law. We reference back to the Alabama Code for Education for county boards.
Okay, absolutely. Thank you, committee, and Ms. Brown. The next item on the agenda will be the CSFO employment contract. Board members, we do need to make a decision regarding the status of the contract of our Chief School Financial Officer. It is currently set to expire in June. We have seen that contract. It is posted for your review, and we have the option of offering an extension that would allow for some financial stability. You've seen exhibited tonight what the current Chief School Financial Officer can do for us. So, what we want to look at is, do we want to allow year-to-year rollovers, or do we want to secure this CSFO and offer an extension that would be palatable? And if so, I did ask that it be put on the agenda so that we can have open discussion about how you want to move forward in making something happen regarding our CSFO and his contract. Whatever discussions we have on a possible extension, if we vote on that, we would then move to the contract negotiations and hopefully bring a contract back next month. Yes.
I think come June, we just say bye-bye. We needed some comic relief, okay? I mean, we want to extend it until I die, is what I'm saying.
Dr. Keith, believe it or not, you did give me a little bit of heartburn. So, okay. Thank you for the comic relief. The discussion, the floor is open for your discussion.
Well,
That we offer a contract and not an extension.
No.
Meaning not a year extension, we negotiate a contract that's longer than a year.
A new contract.
A new contract.
A new contract, and, we wanted to talk about what that extension looked like. And we can talk about that, offline, but it would be good, to be able to say, this is what we'd like to offer. And then he could decide whether or not he's ready to go into negotiations, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, not until Ms. Keith passes away. Okay, but thank you, yes.
I align with the need to secure our CSFO. He's done a wonderful job, and he deserves being rewarded for that wonderful job.
Likewise from District 6.
Same from District 7.
Mr. Watts has done a phenomenal job with, as we look at where we were in 2019 and 2018, and we look at where we were today and plugging up those holes that were leaking money. We've come a long way thanks to Mr. Watts and his team. They have all done an excellent job. Therefore, we need to come to negotiations with a good contract.
Thank you. We will continue when we get into the business session.
I don't have a vote, but thank you very much.
Can I ask one more
Yes,
thing?
ma'am. Go ahead.
So we're saying that the board, because I've not done it before, so the board creates a contract or
Makes an offer.
We will deliberate with I almost said the candidate, with the CSFO, and together.
okay.
Come
okay.
together with a contract and bring it back to make certain that this full board approves.
Good, that was my question. How would we know what he?
Right, but the decision we needed to make tonight, because it expires this summer, we need to make the decision, yes, we do want to extend, and we can even talk about, we can put some numbers on it, and I'm hoping that that will inspire him to say, yes, I would like to negotiate a contract with you guys with those terms. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, item H. We have the next item on our agenda, Board of Equalization nominees. You might recall in the fall we did make a nomination. Well, there has been a resignation from that Board of Equalization, and we now have the opportunity again to make a nomination. And we have received 2 nominations. I do not have both those names before me. Yes, they are.
Madam President, I would like to nominate Willie Durham to the office of the Equalization Board. He was nominated by us a few years back, and he's serving as president now.
Thank you.
His
And
term is about to expire.
And I would like to nominate Vic Beebehauser.
okay, we do have 2 nominations, Vic Beebehauser and Willie Durham. Since we only have 2, we do not have to take a vote on which to submit. We can submit both of these names, and the board will select a person to serve. We do need to get information on these persons, and they do need to sign off an affidavit of eligibility that they are willing to serve. What we need to do in our business meeting is vote to affirm these nominations. And if you do vote to affirm these 2 nominations, I will need your signatures after, as we adjourn. Are there questions or discussions? Thank you very much. For new business, we did have one item that might come up. I never heard any discussion. Do you want to? Yes.
It was really to our CSFO. I've had a lot of complaints on the fingerprinting of all employees. I mean, I've heard the reasons, the question to me as a board member is, why did the board approve that? And I didn't know we approved it. I had to look back, see that we approved Chronos. I went back into my memory, remember saying, hey, when I was at South University, we had the Chronos system, but the Chronos system never used any kind of fingerprinting. When I looked at the board connections report that we receive every Friday, there was, hold on just a second, give me 2 seconds because I actually took a picture of this. There was a, give me a second. Here we go. The question, this was on the board connections. It said, Lisa, I probably took the wrong one. No, wait. Okay, here it is. Has a final decision been reached regarding requiring fingerprinting in addition to the badge? We were already doing the badge, okay? And the answer, which I think is hobnob, obviously, I mean, it just irritates me when you don't get an answer. And here's the answer. It says ID badges are not an option for clock in and clock out. They can be used to access other options on the clock, such as request time off, view punches, transfer, etc. Nowhere does that answer that. So, I mean, if we're doing that, I mean, the complaint from teachers is that it is a breach of your privacy. And also with COVID, when they're punching their little thumbprints and it takes 4 or 5 times to do it right after somebody else has done it, with COVID, they feel that's a problem. Now, I did read in the board connections that they can clean it off. My whole thing is, and I did speak with our superintendent, I was not real happy, and that was yesterday. And we kind of text back and forth on this. My understanding is that there were people that are running other people's badges. I get that, but why can't we use a camera? I just feel like when you take it to the point of fingerprinting, we're micromanaging professional people, and I do. I feel like these teachers' complaints and other people complaining about the fingerprinting is, I feel like we're micromanaging, and this is something not only a camera can handle, because even in the board connections, it stated that you've got a person over that to make sure that, that's there at that school. Well, if that's the case, I mean, can they not look and see that somebody's running somebody else's badge? I just don't understand. I mean, when I retired from Montgomery Public School System in 2012, we didn't have a badge to do that with. Now we do. The question on this that I just read you, the answer has nothing to do with has there been a final answer. It totally avoided it which to me was quite irritating. Where are we?
Certainly, thank you. We were going to ask you to bring us a response, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Keith, for that inquiry. And yes, we have gotten a few responses from a few employees. Also, let me just say though, first we have over 3,500 employees. We received less than 0.001 or 1% of folk that appear to have a problem with this particular scanning. I think out of the 3,500 employees, probably less than 60. Some we've already explained exactly what it is. It is not fingerprint. It's not a fingerprint. You do put your finger in, but it's, and Dr. Powell, you may have to help me about biometrics, about the biometric thing. What it does, put your finger in, and it takes a picture and automatically convert that to numbers. So it doesn't store fingerprints. It doesn't even take a fingerprint. It takes a picture, and that thing is converted into numbers. And that's the only thing you have. You have numbers, not a person's fingerprint. And that's why we sent out a list of facts, frequently asked questions to all employees. We attach even the information from that particular company, letting people know that we do not store fingerprints or even take fingerprints. I also want to say that this Chronos system is used throughout the state of Alabama in a number of school districts, including some of our larger school districts. You have Jefferson County schools that are using Chronos. You have Birmingham City schools. Now, Birmingham City schools, they don't use Chronos, they use another thing, but you put your entire hand in the scan thing to do it. And it's the same thing, it's the biometric also. So it's not taking a fingerprint or a handprint of anyone. It's numbers that are calculated. So people don't have to worry about their privacy being stolen, their privacy being taken. And again, as I stated, it was less than 60 people that had some concerns about that, Dr. Keith. Also, we've talked with Mr. Anderson as it relates to the cleanliness, and we're going to put hand sanitizer by each one of those machines also. And I would just express that it's no more than employees touching doors to come into the building or go in and out of various areas. So we're trying to take care of all of those particular concerns. And as we continue to explain to the employees, I think they are feeling more and more comfortable. Now, there's going to be a few that we still probably going to have to, have some conversations with. But as I stated, we probably got less than 60 concerns thus far. And as we are getting those concerns, then we are talking to folk. We're explaining to them exactly what it is. And most of the people are saying, okay, they understand. And we're letting them know that Auburn City schools and all of these other school districts throughout the state do use biometric. Now, some don't, but a lot of them still use the biometric attendance, time and attendance system.
Let me just say this, because the question to me was, of course, Dr. Keith, what would you do? It doesn't matter about they are afraid of being fired because apparently, now Dr. Brown told me they were never threatened. I actually sent the text that I was getting to Dr. Brown to see. I didn't say they were being threatened, but apparently they're taking it that if they don't do the thumbprint, that they will be fired.
I would hope that a person would not have said that we've said that, because we would definitely never make a threat like that, ever.
Well,
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
I think so. I think so.
Because my system, I don't use Chronos, but
Mm-hmm.
we have ADP, and we have scan
Uh-huh.
as well. So I just didn't know.
Same thing. Same thing. I know you have even some organizations use your eyes, the pupil, and it can create the biometric. You have different types. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Portis, did you have? Oh, I apologize. Yes, Ms. Cloud.
Just since this has been opened up for discussion, this is not just at the school level, this is across
Across the district.
central office?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Everyone's doing the new dango. Okay,
We believe in equity.
thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
We believe in equity. Thank you. Were there other questions? Okay, thank you
Thank you.
for responding to that. Okay, being that there were no, oh. Yes, ma'am. We'll entertain it. I didn't have it in advance, but go ahead.
Okay. For, and for new business, I know that the magnet school application process is open. I would just request that we can get a report of the procedures and the processes used for that. And so we'll know what is going on, when it's going on, what test are they requiring from whom, by whom. And so parents and community will know. And so as their children are applying and are tested, they'll know what they're looking for or looking out for, just to prepare them better.
Thank you so very much. And the only reason we ask for those in advance is so that I do know to call on you. And if you give us your rationales, it helps the secretary to type those up for the minutes. But no, no problem. We are good, and being that there's no other business to come before us in this work session, this meeting is adjourned, but do not leave us because we will resume our business in just a moment. Thank you again. And for those who might be joining us anew, we are welcoming you to our official business meeting, and we say Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us this evening. The January 9, 2024 regular business session of the Montgomery County Board of Education will come to order. At this time, we still have a quorum present, so I declare, yes, there is a quorum present. Approval of our agenda. Is there objection to approving our agenda by unanimous consent? Is there objection to approving our agenda by unanimous consent? The agenda has been approved as posted. We'll try to keep remarks brief. As we kick off a new year, I am encouraged to share with each of you that we are excited for what's to come in Montgomery Public Schools. 2024 is slated to be a phenomenal year. As school board members, I know that I can speak on behalf of my colleagues when I say that we are looking forward to supporting our administration, our school staff, our students, and our families to ensure that everyone is working together. Our commitment to excellence is what drives us. It drives us to envision learning environments that nurture innovation, that embrace diversity and equity, and that empower every student to thrive. As a reminder, our vision does include innovation in education, equity and inclusivity, as well as community engagement. In addition, collaboration with parents, educators, and the community at large is fundamental. I do encourage our community to join us for our board meetings, become active in our school PTAs, volunteer at our local schools, and please do share encouraging words with our scholars and with our staff members. Together, we will continue to elevate and to transform this system, this district, ensuring that every child will have the tools and the opportunities they need to succeed in an ever-evolving world. I'm going to paraphrase a fellow board member and friend. Truth, facts, integrity, and understanding are priorities that will help us to achieve our goals. Thank you. And now for some great news coming out of our schools. At Vaughn Road Elementary, the students collected over 198 non-perishable food items and donated those items to WSFA's 12 Days of Giving. Congratulations to Forest Avenue's fourth graders. Is that Clara? Yes, Clara Kim, Yuchan Kwak, Dong Hong, and on winning their Montgomery Arts Center's holiday greeting card contest. There were over 500 entries. That is phenomenal. Absolutely, I heard applause. Thank you. Johnson Abernathy Gratz High School students decked the halls for Christmas with the help of the art department under the direction of Ms. Ennis Miles. Students created wreaths to adorn hallways. Wreaths were then donated to the Gardens of Waterford residents. All residents also received a decorated gallon-sized bag of socks, candy, and Christmas cards that were decorated by the Spanish 3 students. Dr. Boss, Mrs. Brooks, and Mrs. Collins delivered those goodies to the residents. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Johnson Abernathy Gratz students. And at this time, we'll turn it over to Mrs. J. Jones for our recognitions. Ms. Jones.
Thank you, Madam President, Dr. Brown, and board members. Tonight, we would like to start by recognizing all of you. As you know, January serves as National School Board Month. And so we are excited to celebrate all of you. And we thank you for your service and dedication to the students of Montgomery Public Schools. So we're going to ask everyone to give you all a round of applause. Madam President, next up, we have a special guest that is here with us tonight, Mr. Coleman Woodson, if he would join us. And as Mr. Woodson comes up, he is going to be on national television on Martin Luther King Day. Mr. Woodson will be on the Kelly Clarkson Show as he helps Kelly celebrate Martin Luther King. And I'm going to let him share a little more about his appearance that's coming up.
Dr. Brown and the board, I'm honored to be here this evening representing Montgomery Public Schools. This all came about of an article that was written at the Montgomery, the Advertiser Journal put out in September 14th, I think, describing me as a community hero for just doing my job, teaching every day and mentoring students and trying to do the best job I can to teach music. I teach band. I've been doing it now for 25 years. I've enjoyed every moment of it. However, that article detailed a bunch of different things about my life, growing up in Selma, Alabama, being a part of the civil rights movement, my military experience as a bandsman, and different things like that. I even had the chance to drive Dr. King a little bit. They focused in on that. I was part of the Dallas County Youth Organization and they gave me a job at the motor pool. All of this will come out in the show. However, one of the producers of the Kelly Clarkson Show happened to see that article and picked up on it and invited me to tell my story. And I'm delighted to do that. I mean, there are thousands of people that have stories to tell about the civil rights movement and other things that they do in life. But that was one of the things that attracted them, and I'm honored to represent Montgomery Public Schools in that capacity. Thank you.
Absolutely, I'm all for that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Thank
Jay,
you. We are so
can we
proud.
just, can we, yeah.
Monday. Is it 2 o'clock, Mr.? Martin Luther King Day. Yeah.
Jay, before you move on, I have to
Yes.
say, Mr. Wilson has taught all three of my children. One was a challenge. But when I say it gets no better, I mean, they are wonderful. And I grew up in band, love it, played the flute all the way through high school. And I just know the importance and the community that my band family gave to me. So it's so well deserved. And I was looking at the notes. I said, and he drove Dr. King. I mean, I just thank you for everything you've done. I know I've never had a chance to say it because I'm picking up kids, but just thank you for everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as he said,
Time and, I know it's the day, but what time and what channel?
You know,
It's gonna be at 3:00
Uh,
on January 15th, the Martin Luther King edition of it. It's already been taped and ready to roll out, and it's gonna be on Channel 8, CBS, the Kelly Clarkson show at 3:00, January 15th.
thank you.
Thank you.
I was
will
about to
tune
say,
in.
We'll be sure to send reminders.
right.
we'll try and get
And,
that
and
sent
as
out.
Dr. Brown just said, we'll send that reminder out. I do want to thank Mr. Whitson. I personally want to thank him, and he knows why. Just like Ms. Smith said, he's inspired my children. He plays at our church, so we are just so grateful for what you do there and here. But also the fact that you did drive Martin Luther King, I think that's awesome. So we're really excited, and we do want to thank Dr. Courtney Giles, the principal at Floyd Middle Magnet, who made us aware of this. And so I held it for this month to share with you all. So again, we want to celebrate him. We'll send this out to the district tomorrow, and we're excited. All righty. Madam President, we'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. And I was going to add, he mentioned that there are so many stories out there. It is the untold story that we need to hear, that we want to hear. So I'm so, so very proud of you. Lifetime friend, but I'm just filled with joy for you and for our district. And let's recognize how important it is to celebrate the arts. You know, people in the arts do great things other than make good music, right? Thank you for your music and your professional service to us.
Has this been told to WSFA, the newspaper Montgomery Advertiser? Okay. All right, I want a fanfare. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have two scheduled public comments. Two individuals who have requested. So at this time, I will read for us the guidelines for public participation in our board meetings. The request must be made in advance in writing to the superintendent's office by 4:30 p.m. on the Tuesday preceding the meeting date. The request must have been received, and the nature of the business to be taken up with the board must be given with the name of the person who will address the board to be added to the agenda. Communications must be respectful. Discussing specific student or employee matters will not be allowed. Individuals who have concerns that are inappropriate to be solved in this venue are welcome to seek a problem-solving meeting with the superintendent. Immediate feedback by the board may not be provided. However, you may be contacted for follow-up by the superintendent or his designee. Public comments may not exceed 3 minutes. The board chairman has full authority to terminate the remarks of any person whose comments contain personal attacks, exceed the time limit, or are otherwise inappropriate. A speaker may be considered disruptive who continues to speak when the allotted time has ended, when asked to stop speaking by the board chair, or is otherwise inappropriate. If a person fails to comply when asked to terminate comments, he or she will be escorted to their seat out of the auditorium and/or off of MPS properties, depending on the level of disruption. At this time, we welcome Mr. William Gaillard to talk about the miracle of not giving up. Mr. Gaillard.
Madam Chairman, Dr. Brown, board members, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited. I came on the right night. Woodson and I just met about a year ago. I'm so happy for him. And I am so elated to tell you that I've made progress. It's good to know that a person has made progress, because on July 23rd, I was jogging and preparing to do a marathon, and I had a stroke. But God was good to me. I said God was really good to me. And I am back 100% in terms of my ability to jog again. Now, I'm saying this to say that nothing is too hard for God. When I go into the schools, that's the one thing that I am able to communicate to young people. Nothing is too hard for God. I say think, you say big. This is what I tell the children. Think, and they shout big. Of course, BIG stands for believe in God. I'm not preaching, I'm teaching. Believe in God. Believe in good. Believe in giving. Believe in grace. These are the things that we teach. And so I'm here to tell you today that I'm excited about what God told me to do, and I obeyed, and it's working. I am now a certified, qualified, bona fide substitute teacher. I hope you heard me. I am certified, and I've got it in writing. And everywhere I go when I'm substitute teaching, I have this sign with me. I don't have to say it, they see it. Finally, one girl said, I want to know, do you take that everywhere you go? And I said, that's a profound question, and you deserve an answer everywhere. Is my time up?
Yes, thank you so very much, and we're so happy that you're back. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. And you all have an invitation to this.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next, we welcome Ms. Phaedra Carson Foster. The PTA is not an ATM. Ms. Foster, welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak before the board today. I am here today to address an issue with the district's current relationship with the PTA that is unfortunately undermining our mission and negatively impacting some of our best practices. Our PTA/PTSA units must function according to our national standards and best practices. Our units' EIN numbers are controlled by our state organization. They were issued to units because they are supposed to carry out our mission according to our umbrella organization. The PTA's mission is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. Notice that our mission is child-focused and developmentally focused. It is also family-focused, intended to empower families and the community, but to empower them specifically to help children develop their potential. Feeding teachers are a nice thing to do. Buying things that the school needs are a nice thing to do, but those are nice things that we should be doing after we fulfill our mission. We have PTA, the PTA has programs that are specifically designed to carry out and fulfill our mission. We train parents to run those programs. We also train them to advocate in a constructive way, personally, but also systemically, as we did regarding the ad valorem increase. I believe that our schools could benefit from the programs, trainings, and the advocacy that the PTA does. And I am willing to do my best to make sure that we build high quality, peer-led parenting communities. But honestly, we are having some issues with the district supporting our policies. We need real support like we used to have regarding our meetings and our trainings, which used to take place on MPS property. Our units have to have plans that are according to our best practices, and they must have budgets. These budgets need to support PTA programs first. We provide training to young parents and parents who are new to the system. This is how we expand peer-led leadership training and community building. I must stress that fundraising is not family engagement. I'm not trying to be ugly or controversial, but our funds cannot be used as unrestricted petty cash or slush funds. We have a mission. I'm not trying to stop the district from creating booster clubs or fundraising boards. It's just that that's not our mission. I also need to point out that we have separate insurance for our units. The things that our units do at the schools need to conform to our insurance policies. The district would like for families to follow its chain of command and respect its procedures. I'm asking the district to reciprocate.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Foster. The next item on the agenda is our consent agenda, items A through D. Dr. Brown.
Madam President, I recommend approval of the consent agenda as listed.
You have heard the recommendation of the superintendent. Is there a motion?
I motion that we accept the consent agenda and the recommendation of our superintendent.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the recommendation of the superintendent. Is there discussion? Is there discussion? Hearing none, items A through D have been adopted. Next on our agenda is the approval of our personnel report, certified personnel. Dr. Brown.
Madam President, I recommend approval of the personnel report, certified personnel.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent. Is there a motion?
Madam President.
Make the motion first.
Madam President, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for personnel report, certified personnel.
I second.
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the superintendent's recommendation. Is there discussion? Ms. Cloud.
Let me turn my mic on. Okay, I'm just going to tell you, I've looked through it, and without mentioning, of course, anyone on here, last month there were 19 resignations. This month there are 11 resignations, 30 in total in the past 2 months. That's in the middle of the school year. Do we have exit slips for everyone that is resigning? And there were 5 retirees, which that's, of course, their choice. But again, do we have exit slips with signatures and acknowledgement that that's what's going on? 30 resignations is, to me, especially in the business of school, for a 9-month contract, that's a very concerning to me.
I can't confirm right now that we have exit slips that are signed. I can find out for you, however.
Okay, I would like to
As I stated, I would find out for you.
And I would like to add to that, we always say we're going to get back to you, and I do trust that you're going to do that, Dr. Brown. But my colleague to the right of me that gives me a hard time all the time has asked for exit slips since she said, hey, I'm on the board now. And that's something that we're just not given. And when you are resigning in January with a contract that goes for a year, you just want to know. As a board, you just want to know.
Understood.
One other point, and this may be a little off, but I want to bring it in.
Go ahead, Ms. Smith.
I didn't want to talk about the attorney, and I didn't address it doing new business. It's not on here, but to say if you can add it to the new business, I'll put it on the form. That's all.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we have personnel report classified. Dr. Got a little off. I apologize to everybody. Thank you. You have heard the recommendation. It's time to take the vote. All those in favor, let it be known by raising your hand. It passes. Now, personnel report classified. Dr. Brown.
Madam President, I'd like to recommend approval of personnel report classified personnel excluding item S25.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation with the removal of S25.
It has been moved and seconded that we accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the personnel report classified with the exception of item S25. Is there discussion?
I have one as it relates to employment. I know we also talked about on the other end of exit slips, onboarding. We have new employees. Is there any way that we can either have a reception or something so at least the board will know who's new and who's in what position?
Are you saying you'd like to do something like that every month? Because we're consistently hiring folks.
Well, hopefully at some point we'll level out, or maybe our top tier people, especially the top tier people.
Okay.
Because if I have a problem, I need to know who to go to in central office.
Okay.
Not so much as school related people.
Okay.
She doesn't want to admit that she just wants to party once a month.
No, I want to know who to party with.
And Dr. Brown, is there someone in the room that you need to introduce to us that is physically here that we've been told about?
I could do that, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'd like to introduce Ms. Stacy Murray, who is our new Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. So many of your questions will be handled by her office.
I saw her taking notes, so she's ready. Thank you. We will discuss that. Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh. Okay. Look, I promise you. Thank you. We've had the discussion. Is there further discussion on classified personnel? Hearing no further discussion, we will take the vote. All those in favor of approving the personnel report classified, please raise your hands. It is unanimous. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for your attendance. Happy New Year. Our next meeting will be held February 13, same location, 5 o'clock. This meeting is adjourned.